Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
But you know what was cool is a lot of times, so we're talking about filming the Good Cops Halloween special.
When are we starting? Did we start the podcast?
I'd say we started.
At what point did we start the podcast?
I'll let you know later. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't keep any of the stuff that I say.
Okay, I won't. I'll cut out all those horrible things that you opened with, and then I'll start right when it got good. No, I was going to say people during the filming of the Good Cops Halloween special were like, hey, I love the Biofriendly Podcast.
Yeah. I was so thrilled.
Awesome.
I was so thrilled because we actually, when you do see, for those of you who are both fans of the Biofriendly Podcast and of the Good Cops, when you watch the Good Cops Halloween special, you will notice that there is a scene that involves a witch. And that scene was shot in the same room that we do the Biofriendly Podcast.
Right here.
Yes.
And the best was while we were setting up and the crew and people were coming in, they peeked in and they were like, oh, this is where the Biofriendly Podcast is taped.
This is where you do the Biofriendly
This
Podcast.
is the show. So, by the way.
It was so cute because the crew was all so delicate and tender with all of the the stuff in the back and making sure it was all
making sure that the sign was taken down, and then we were trying to tape down the floor to show like where the table was, where our tripods were, where the telescope was, all this stuff. And mostly we got it right, but if you're one of those people who's a stickler for details, there's probably a few things askew.
Here's the issue with the Biofriendly Podcast as opposed to like Good Cops, right?
Okay.
When Kevin Rosenquan comes in, right?
Very talented, very wonderful dude.
And he throws down the tape.
Oh, yeah.
He's throwing down the good tape.
The good tape.
He
knows
down
what
the
he's
stuff
doing.
that
He's a
sticks,
professional.
And he's putting it in a way that it ain't coming up.
Right.
Not until he wants it to come up.
Right.
And then it comes up when he says it's time to come up.
Absolutely.
He commands it, he does his magic, and then it comes up. We throw down basically like scotch tape.
Scotch tape on the floor just because we're quick and trying to get it done
stupid.
and like stupid. Yeah, and we're just like, let's just lay it down fast. It'll be fine. There's no reason this will get caught on the bottom of anybody's shoe.
This is not going to cause anyone any issue. It will be here when we get back.
Right, well.
It wasn't.
So
And that's our fault.
That's on me.
Us. We take team responsibility for every bad thing you do.
Well said. Welcome to the show.
Every bad thing we do.
Every bad thing we do.
I do dumb things too. Just listen to the first part of this podcast.
No, I'm cutting that out. I'm cutting out the dumb stuff.
All the dumb stuff?
All the dumb stuff.
All the...
They should never know who you truly are.
No. The monster who sits next to you.
Right next to
I was going to say across from you, but I don't anymore. I'm right next to you now.
I know, but I've gotten used to this format, I think.
I have too. It's nice.
So welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Welcome, everybody.
Biofriendly Podcast. I'm Jacob.
I'm Noel.
And today, Noel.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about choo-choo.
Choo-choo?
Trains.
Yes!
Yeah.
We're talking about trains?
Trains.
I love trains. Raise your hand if you love trains. Oh, everyone's raising their hand. That's great.
I should go higher. Sorry,
Yeah.
That was a strong raise hand.
Yeah. That's great.
I love trains, and I'm not even being, over the top and over dramatic here. It's a thing. It's a thing where people know that I love trains.
Right.
Like when I go on vacations and we're traveling somewhere, and there's a train ride or whatever. Everybody's like, "Well, we should go do that for Jacob." It's
cool.
It's a thing that I like to do. So you also are a fan.
Oh man, I'm huge on trains. Trains are the best. Do you remember when we were in Wisconsin and we got to go to that train museum?
Yes.
That was one of the best days of my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was so stoked walking through those old steam engine trains.
I love it so much. And I love mini train sets too, which makes me sound like I'm 80. But I love those as well.
Oh, my brother has the coolest Christmas train set that he puts up every year.
That's awesome.
It's like, the train goes around the tree.
I love it. I have a little one that I'm starting to build that I got given as a gift, and it's going to go around the tree this year.
Yeah.
But my dream is to one day have one of those garages where you go in and there's a mountain scene with a city and the whole world, and I'll just be in there for and they'll be like, "Where's Grandpa?" And he's like, "He's working on his trains." That's what I want. That's what I want.
That'll be rad though. Your grandkids are gonna be like, "Wait, he's working on the trains."
I want to go watch.
They're gonna want to build trains with you, man, and you'll be that cool grandpa who's like, "Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
I've got plenty of money. Sure. I did the Biofriendly Podcast, so you can break these train tracks trying to put them together all you want. Because I'm Jacob Givens, and I'm incredibly famous and powerful."
I hope so. That's a really promising looking future.
That's my prediction.
Well, no, this is a cool one because not only are they great, but first of all, you don't get to experience them as often I mean, we got a train system here in LA. We got a train system.
Absolutely. We actually are finally putting together quite a decent metro system even.
Yes.
But yes, in terms of like, we have, we got a Union Station.
We got a Union Station.
We even have cargo trains, man. We got the whole bit.
We got the whole bit. It's just, I think that what would be cool to see in our lifetime is it to become way more used, more tracks laid. And I think that that's some of the stuff that's in the works, which is really exciting.
That's good.
When I was researching this, before we get into how good trains are, I was looking into California, and like we've got the bullet train that's being proposed from Burbank to Anaheim
to Amsterdam.
And Amsterdam, yes, it goes underwater. So there's billions of dollars on the table that are being talked about about more trains here, because the interesting thing is there has been a where was it? It was this train track that was in Los Angeles. Okay. Mm-hmm. So there was a new freeway that they had been working on for like 50 years that they've been wanting to get. And it is called the High Desert Corridor Freeway.
Yes.
And that was going to be...
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So they were like, it's going to be 8 lanes. It's going to be great. And this has been proposed and on the table for a long time. And it might actually be halted forever.
Wow.
Because everybody was like, why are we going to work to create another freeway that's going to get congested and bogged down with people and just cause more and more problems and more traffic and more emissions, and it's going to make California go into the red again because we have, millions of cars in this freeway. We need to completely scrap this and just build the train.
Thank God.
Right? I know. So
I'm so behind that, actually.
I am too. Yeah, it's a really good idea, I think, because trains are 10 times more efficient in terms of getting people from one place to the next. And then
cargo.
Oh, yeah. Cargo, people, and the amount of emissions, I can dive into it right away.
Dude, I mean, are you going to go into Maglev?
Huh?
Are you going to go into magnetic levitation trains, maglev trains?
You tell me.
God,
I didn't even get there in my research. You tell me.
When the time comes, let's talk about that.
Okay, for sure. So I found this great article that was kind of like breaking down what mode of transportation causes the highest level of emissions. Okay. Now, before I kick this off, I'm not going to shame you for getting on a domestic flight. Because you got to get places, and world travel is great. And we've done an episode on travel, so you got to do it. But hands down, the highest form of carbon emissions are a domestic flight.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's 100%.
Yep.
So it's good that these trains these planes and automobiles, these planes are full of people, because the more we can carry from one place to the next, that's better.
It's more efficiency.
More efficiency. But actually, a long haul flight is actually better, and I don't know where they're getting those metrics from. It's like domestic almost adds more than a long haul flight, which I don't know why that would be.
With anything, you've got the problem of activation energy. Like how much energy does it take to get the plane in the air,
right,
and then land it, right? And what is involved in that process, and how many emissions does that cause, right? So if you're doing a shorter flight and you're going domestically, then you are going to have to take that plane off more times. Yeah. And every time you're doing that, you're using a lot more fuel and creating a lot more emissions than if you're just cruising through the sky.
Yeah.
So if you're going from LA to
New York,
New York, still a domestic flight.
Yeah, domestic.
But like LA all the way out to London. Right?
Amsterdam. Let's go to Amsterdam.
Let's go to Amsterdam. Yeah. You're not taking the bullet train to Amsterdam.
Yeah, you're taking the plane.
Yeah. So you're taking you're taking a plane to go all the way out there. You're only going to conceivably lift off once and use that
the whole time
amount of energy, and then go all this distance with all these people over to land there. Whereas if you're doing it to New York and you're trying to pick up passengers to save money in Salt Lake City, and then in Atlanta, and then you get to New York, which happens way more than any of us want to admit.
Right. So what we're trying to tell
you've just taken off. You've just done 3 takeoffs.
Right.
And 3 landings.
So we're trying to encourage everybody fly international. Like, stop visiting your family. Stop going to Chicago and seeing people that you know. Go to Paris, man. Like, just be like, if your family is like, hey, are you coming home for Thanksgiving? Just be like, nope.
Go to Paris, man, should be one of our slogans.
Go to Paris, man. Like, if you're going to take a trip, just go to Paris.
Go to Paris, man.
Yeah, so that's the message that we're sending you right now. And if you get in trouble with your family, if they're like, why aren't you coming home for Thanksgiving? You'd be like, the Biofriendly Podcast said that domestic flights are bad for the environment.
I can't travel domestically anymore.
I have to go on long-haul flights.
The only way I could see you is if I go to Paris first and spend time there enjoying myself with my wife and wine.
And then I'll catch...
Or husband.
And then I'll catch you...
Or children.
And I'll catch you...
Or boyfriend. Or girlfriend. Or neighbor. I don't care who you go to France with. Just go to France.
Anyway, go to France, man.
I'm so sorry.
The worst was, I was like... And
You were on a roll.
I was like, and then you try to... And then you go to... And then you get to... And then you come back... And you're out, and I was like, I'm just going to let him ride this one out.
That may have been the bit. That may have been the bit.
That may have been what you were going for.
Yeah.
So domestic flights, long haul flights. So take those international trips. But then right under that, so by the way, those were, they say CO2 emissions. But then on planes, there's a little category here that says secondary effects from high altitude.
Oh God, that's a great point.
Yeah, so that kind of compounds the amount because like it says 133. I'm guessing that's grams. That G, you think?
Grams.
Yeah, grams. 133 grams is probably like per person. But then the domestic flight, it adds an additional 121 grams because of being in the high altitude.
Right.
So it complicates it.
It is. It's rotten. It's a problem.
So, but then you get down to a car, one passenger, and that's kind of shocking. That is 171 grams.
Yeah.
So it's more than a domestic flight. It doesn't have the complication from being in the high altitude, but that really is the most inefficient. And I mean, if this city is guilty of anything, it is one person in a car all the time. Yep. This city is the king of every car. They're like, we have carpool lanes, and you're looking around and you're like, there's so few people in the carpool lane because everybody's just in their nice cars.
Well,
right?
it got to the point that people were getting angry that there's a carpool lane because you're wasting a lane for people who want to travel.
Right.
It's like, well, you're missing the point.
You're missing the point.
Angelino.
Oh, Angelino. So anti carpool lane.
They are so, aren't they? All these Angelinos.
Oh, I thought you were just saying a name.
No, like...
I forgot that we are also referred to as Angelinos.
Let's pick on Angelino. The rest of the day,
Angelino,
that guy's a jerk.
Angelino is a jerk. He hates carpool lanes and he hates people who travel.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't go to Paris.
Do you know what he does?
Go to Paris, Angelino.
He probably goes to Phoenix via Minneapolis.
Oh, he flies to Bakersfield. Mm-hmm. He's a jerk.
Such a jerk.
So car passenger. Then you get to bus, and that's 104 grams. That's an improvement from a car, but it's still not great. Buses. Now, I would imagine electric buses are a huge improvement, but there's a lot of these old school buses running around town or kicking out the diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what they mean at the bottom there by coach.
Yeah.
Coach, if I'm wrong.
Yeah. That's where we're headed with that, right?
Yeah.
So then up next is car with 4 passengers. Now that thankfully cuts it way down. So if you got your family, that's 43 grams because you are really splitting up that CO2 emission amongst 4 people. Right. So that's ideal. Then you get down, this is where we're going. Domestic rail, 41 grams. That's it. That's a train, right?
That's a train.
So that is an efficient one. Then right under that is coach, which you think is like an electric.
Or natural gas.
Natural gas, 27 grams. And then the lowest, and I don't even know what this is.
Eurostar is like a specific low emission
type of train
that they use in
Eurostar.
Europe. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the bottom of the list in this article.
With trains, you have options to go crazy low emission.
Yeah.
If you want to, let's go ahead and get into the old bullet train / Maglev right there.
Let's get into it.
As an example.
I think this is perfect. You kick it off.
With a magnetic levitation train, here's the idea is...
That just sounds cool, by the way. Oh, it's a magnetic levitation train.
It's the best.
That sounds like something out of an X-Men movie.
It is.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that's rad about it.
Okay.
So instead of putting trains on a track, like you put these iron wheels on a track that don't fall off the track, except when someone puts a tied up woman on the thing,
and a guy with a mustache.
Yeah, and he's gonna
damsel in distress.
Apart from that, they stay on the track, right?
Right.
With a maglev train, the concept is that you have you get a positive charged magnet, and you put it on a positive charged magnet, and they don't touch. You can't get them to touch each other.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So it actually floats. So you basically at the bottom of the train is charged one way, and instead of having a rail, you basically have the floor charged with the same magnetic charge.
That is so cool.
You're floating the train in a tube. And then in the tube, so like in the train, obviously you've got oxygen recycling, but in the tube, it's a vacuum. There's no.
So is this
there's
like the?
There's nothing in there.
Right. This is like the Elon Musk stuff that he was working on, right?
This is
the future.
There's a few people
tunnels.
working on this. Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
but he's one of.
He is absolutely an example of someone working on that.
Yeah, I remember reading something about
But
this.
if you have no air in there, there's no oxygen, there's no nitrogen, no carbon dioxide, there's nothing in there, right?
Yeah.
You've got a vacuum, then you have nothing to. You have much less friction around you to stop the train, right?
Wow.
Which means that once you get that train going and moving, provided that you don't have a lot of stops, you can make that train haul. I don't want to use the donkey.
Haul donkey.
Yeah, so you can get that sucker going 1,000 miles an hour pretty easily. And because there's nothing else in the tube, because the tube is the single thing going the one way with no friction, nothing else in there, you aren't really in much danger of having anything go wrong. You're just floating along in a tube.
Floating through
It's kind of
the
like,
tunnel.
do you remember when we were kids and they had those?
I do.
Those, yeah.
Wait. Cue nice nostalgic music. Go on.
I used to dance, play in the lawn, at teepee houses.
We used to couch people.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you couch a person?
I'm interrupting your story.
Tell me
but
how you couch a person.
This is bad that I'm teaching this to people.
Especially because a lot of children listen to our podcast.
Okay, children. All right, I promise.
Children, close your ears.
We'll get back to the train thing in a second. When I was in high school, in the short window I lived in Illinois, I lived there for 1 year.
Right.
We decided, you know how people toss out couches and furniture and stuff like that?
Totally.
We had a friend who had a truck, and we used to go and collect as many pieces of furniture that we could, and then we would set up a living room scene on somebody's. It was great. It was great. It wasn't TPing. They would wake up in the morning and there would be a couch, a coffee table, a rocking chair, and a lamp, like a living room on somebody's front lawn. It was my favorite break we ever did because, all they got to do is move it to the curb, but still the person wakes up and they're like, why is there
who is living in my front yard?
Who is living on my front yard?
That is an overly elaborate prank.
Overly elaborate prank.
Did you ever have couch fires in college?
No.
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 Where someone would leave a couch out because they were moving out of the place, and then you take the couch and then you
set it on fire.
Set it on fire.
No, we never did that.
Instead of having a bonfire by the beach,
you had a couch fire.
No, couch fire.
That sounds pretty cool too.
It was pretty rad.
So anyway,
great for the environment.
Do not try this at home.
Great for the environment.
But I know, and it was a funny prank. Maybe I'll pass that on to another future person who can start doing living room pranks.
You know what? I think that's a good. That's
a fun one.
Healthy prank. I think
fun.
Kids, unplug your ears. Parents, rewind. Let them hear this.
Let them hear it.
Prank.
It was fun.
They should do this prank.
Anyway, you were saying, remember when we were kids?
Remember when we were kids?
Uh-huh.
All right, and then you go into a place with your dad where he was dropping off mail or he had to fill out some paperwork or whatever, and then the person would reach behind them and there was a tube. They put the little letter in a little tube and then put that tube in the suction cup and it'll be gone.
Hyper whatever vacuum seal tubes.
Yeah. So that's what these trains are basically.
Oh wow!
And then because they're using magnetic levitation, they're not touching anything, so there's no friction, and that's the key. So by doing that, you could get from at 1,000 miles an hour, you can get from Los Angeles to New York. As an example, in 3 hours.
That's incredible.
So can you imagine how many less carbon emissions there would be if people just took the train?
That's incredible.
They could commute to work in New York.
That's amazing.
You see what I'm saying?
I hope that happens in our lifetime because I've never been to New York. 2, I want to get there in 3 hours.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? and then more than that, now you need a lot of water to cool it, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be moving water around from one place to another. You could set it up so that flood zones, like in Houston, where you have these horrible floods and they've nowhere to put the water.
Yeah.
If you had these trains, like a network of these trains going everywhere,
you
could take the water that's flooding into Houston, dump it all in, and use that to cool the entire system throughout the nation.
Wow. I love it. I love science. I love technology. I just love innovations like that. That's so cool. Thank you. Thank you, Noel. This has been A Moment with Noel.
Ding dong 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 ding dong.
By the way,
I get my I get my facts years ago and then I get rusty and I forget little pieces. So if there's details that I left out or something I got wrong, feel free to call and correct it and get us right. But that's about it.
Yeah.
It's close enough to right that people can general understanding. Don't use The Moment with Noel as your proof.
I say
when
use
you're
it.
trying. Okay, go ahead.
I say use it for school.
It's fine.
I say use it in your report.
Use me as your reference.
Cite Noel. By the way, I just realized I said call now, and I realized the phones probably have been shut off or silenced for the filming.
Well, when we do our show,
We leave them on.
we leave them on so that people can call.
They can call.
But when we do Good Cops and
We turn 'em
people who are smarter, like Kevin Rosenquan is a
Yeah.
great example.
Yeah.
They hit the no do not disturb button and then nobody calls.
So smart.
Yeah.
So right now, if you're trying to call just feverishly, like, I got to call the podcast, we'll turn it on next episode.
Next episode we'll have it on so you can call.
So you can call in.
Yeah. But anyways, so the thing is this is a really low emission, easy, fast way to move around the place and move a lot of people, and it's a lot better than putting them on planes.
That's amazing.
And then people don't have to feel afraid of a plane crash also, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, here's
Not that happens, it doesn't, so get on the plane. I mean,
Yeah.
it does, but it's very unusual.
very unusual. We got it down. We've got it down. We've really, really solved a lot of this travel stuff. So, how does traveling by a train compare? Train virtually always comes out better than a plane, often by a lot. A journey from London to Madrid would emit 43 kilograms, 95 pounds of CO2 per passenger by train, but 118 kilograms by plane.
Plus the 147 kilograms from being high altitude.
Exactly, or 256 kilograms if the non-CO2 emissions are included, according to EcoPassenger. So that's some facts right there.
Yikes.
But then an interesting thing here was the plane always is more than the train, but there was instance in this article that was talking about it said, but the improvement in a place like Paris on a train is better than, say, Poland. And that's because Paris and France, they power their trains through nuclear energy, whereas in Poland, it's still coal.
Right.
So that's the difference. And so in the nuclear energy, it's more efficient and less carbon emissions, which people get scared by that word. But I mean, it's actually a really great resource if handled correctly. We've touched on that before.
Yeah, you should definitely look into what they've done to make nuclear reactors basically impossible to melt down. They've done some pretty incredible. They've done a lot and lasted a while. I'm not going to sit here and say that Biofriendly officially endorses nuclear or anything.
For sure not.
Because these are our personal opinions. But it's you should definitely look into the improvements in nuclear safety. It's really gotten better.
Yeah. So, but that's an example of something where it's a better, at least in this situation, as opposed to coal. It's leaving way less of a carbon emission.
Yeah.
So, and again, the one in Poland that's on coal is still better than cars or planes. It's still an improvement. It's just not as good.
And we're still just talking about passengers.
Yeah. Not cargo.
We haven't even gotten into the cargo bit of this, which is a whole other monkey.
Other banana.
Let me know when you want to get into that monkey.
I don't have anything on that monkey.
Okay. Well, finish what you're doing, and then we'll
I wanted to see if there was anything else on this. I mean, it was talking about boats and whatnot, which boats are obviously a good thing as well.
Obviously, you should be in a pirate ship going by sail.
But that's not really something you
wearing
can
pirate hats.
take advantage of if you're not near water.
Stealing treasure.
People in Nevada, New Mexico, and Arizona aren't like, well, I commute by boat.
From unsuspecting governments in Europe.
Right.
That's how you should do it. And you should have a cool nickname like Redbeard.
Right.
Or Yellowbeard. Or Smokehead.
Smokehead?
Yeah.
That's a great one. So there's an entire, the railroads have gotten wise to this, obviously. There's an Association of American Railroads, and if you go to their site, they have a whole section that says Freight Rail and the Greening of America. And I mean, literally, they're pushing right now that we should return to the days of the trains. Like it should be the old West out there. And we should be getting on the trains and going from city to city. So I think that would be a promising. I think people would be sad to give up their cars because I think that's a hard thing.
But the tomorrow generation isn't. Have you noticed?
That's very true. We are in an Uber generation.
Yeah, they are much happier to have someone who drives a lot and is good at it and comfortable at it drive them around.
Very true. We are a generation, and our parents and grandparents before us, that cars have been a huge fixture. And getting your first car, Go
ahead, sorry. Represented freedom.
Yeah, freedom. Yeah. You get your driver's license at 16, you got your wheels, you get to go out with your friends. But I wonder now, and I'll ask my son this, how does he feel? Is he excited about driving as he gets closer? That'll be an interesting thing to see. Is he gonna? Of course he's gonna look forward to doing it. But they're growing up with this like, yeah, I don't know. I'll just get a car and have it take me to the place I need to go.
I'll have someone do it for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It just isn't that expensive. It probably costs less actually at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm still there's a lot of propaganda in my house going towards getting your driver's license and learning
sure.
how to drive.
Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, even if my kids decide that they don't want to drive, which is totally fine, I want them to know how.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I'm gonna teach them to drive manual cars. I'm gonna teach them to drive a boat, a nuclear train.
I wish I knew how to drive manual. I tried to learn one time and it was just awful at it.
Let's go learn how to drive a manual car. Let's do it. We'll make an episode of it.
That would be so great. Let's film it too.
Let's film it.
Just me stalling the car, slipping the clutch.
Let's put it on the Biofriendly Podcast.
I tried to learn. I was in the Chicago suburbs and I was in this little boxy Toyota Corolla and my dad was trying to teach me how to put the and I just...
And he probably yelled at you the whole time, right?
It just wasn't going well. I just was like...
My mom is a teacher. My dad is not. Mm-hmm. My dad has many wonderful gifts and is a super smart dude and a lot of fun. I love him to pieces. But when it comes to who's going to be teaching you to do something, it's got to be my mom.
Yeah.
Because when my dad tried, it was basically just an explosion of swear words.
And you were like, I'm never going to learn how to drive.
I'm just never going to learn how to drive anything.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I decided. And then my mom got in the car. She's like, let's try again. And she was so patient and kind. I was like, oh, I can do it. I can do anything.
I love it.
That's
as far as I got on the. I wanted you to talk about what you wanted to say with cargo and the other things that you're.
Well, first of all, just to give people an idea of why trains are so cool.
Yeah.
Is because of how they're constructed. Because you have again, we talked about this with planes. You don't start or stop unless you determine that it's time to start or stop because you're on a rail.
Right.
And there's nothing else on the rail but you and the other trains, and those are all coordinated for financial efficiency to not run into each other.
Right.
Right? Or not be anywhere near each other.
Right.
So you don't have to keep starting and stopping a train. You can get the train going, get the momentum moving, and then it just rolls. And because of how strong the engines are and because of the way they're operating, you can pull a lot more with a train engine than you can with a truck engine.
Nice.
All right.
Torque.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Exactly. And so if you got to move cargo as an example from Atlanta to Los Angeles, and you're doing it with a train. Yeah. You ever seen those long sets of trains where you've got probably 3 or 4 engines and you've got 40 different. You've got 40 containers sitting on that thing.
Yeah.
Each of those containers is a truck.
Wow.
So instead of pulling each of those containers with one engine that's stopping and starting in traffic through every city that it has to go through from Atlanta to Los Angeles, you are pulling 40 with 4 engines across the entire country without stopping all the time and without having to deal with...
No P-brakes.
Without having to deal with the fact that the untrained driver just cut off the truck and the truck had to stop and then jackknife and kill 6 people behind him.
Right. Exactly.
Which then brings me to the other point why it's better for the environment. If you have more trains and more options for trains to do that, then you don't need as many trucks. Oh, man. Which means that the freeways are more open.
I really want to reduce the trucks in the road. And I know I value what a trucker does in driving across the country, but man, where we drive, there are a lot of trucks, and
in the cities there still would be some trucks because you still have to get it from yard to yar.
But it would be.
But we could do it with less, particularly
just cut them in half, literally. Take all the trucks and with a broadsword and just cut the back of the truck open.
Right.
That's what I want to do.
That's beautiful. You should do that ninja style, with your sword, lots of flips.
I am destroyer of trucks. That's what I want to do. Listen
then the truck just explodes.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
But less trucks means less congestion, which means less stopping and starting, which means less emissions, which means a cleaner environment. So there's a million reasons why you could go that way. If we go the next step...
What's the next step?
And start putting them in tunnels.
Oh, yeah.
And doing that maglev style, now you can zip them all over the place.
Zip.
Right? You can
zap, zap.
You can get your shoes you ordered from Amazon even faster.
because they came from New York in 3 hours.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm just saying, let's just
bring on the trains.
Think about trains as maybe a green option.
I think that would be incredible. Let's get there's so many solutions that we could be working on, and this one should be the first because I love trains so much. So let's
Mostly
just
because we love trains.
Yeah, we love trains. But I got to tell you something before we wrap things up. I want to tell you something. While I was researching trains, you just are looking at articles and things about the environment, and you find all these things about the freeways in California and building new trains and you know all this exciting technology. And then I saw an article and I was like, well, that doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but it's kind of funny. So I just thought I'd bring it to you anyway because we're nearing the end. So let's just let's cut loose.
Let's cut loose.
The name of this article was "A Poop Train from New York Befouled a Small Alabama Town Until the Town Fought Back."
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I saw the words poop train and I was like, oh, we're talking about this, right?
What did New York do?
So apparently, New York and New Jersey were loading up sewage onto trains and sending them to Alabama.
Why?
Because they're jerks? I don't know. I don't know what person who works in the New York sewage was like, yeah, I don't know, just send it to Alabama, put it on a train.
Send it to Alabama. They're like, this is
Right?
This is almost as nefarious as couching someone's front yard.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, it is. It is.
This sounds like a prank. Like some guy in New York is like, I got the greatest idea.
I got the greatest idea. We're going to put all the poop on a train and then we're
send
going
it
to
to
send it out to
Alabama.
Alabama and let's see if they notice. It literally says,
God.
Parish, Alabama, all anyone here could talk about was the odor, which drifted from the rail yard to the softball field, past the pharmacy and the hardware store. It was acrid, hurtful, all-consuming, the kind of stench that forced residents and city workers to don masks just to get through the day. Everyone knew the source. It was the poop train.
Poop train.
Right? For 2 months, this 2-square-mile coal town in the lush forested hills northwest of Birmingham found itself mired in other people's problems. The unwilling custodian of a train filled with 10 million...
10 million pounds?
10 million pounds of treated human waste from New York. Oh, I'm sorry, Parish, Alabama. This isn't funny, but I'm glad you guys got rid of
It's
it.
not
They
funny,
did get rid
but
of
it
it.
is hilarious. No, what was it destined for? Go back.
Sorry. Destined for permanent disposal in a landfill in nearby Adamsville, the train was blocked from traveling through when a neighboring jurisdiction took a stand against having the material traveling through its community. So it was going to go to a landfill, but then Alabama was like, why is New York sending their stuff to our landfill? So I don't know what the story is behind it, but anyway.
That is a fair... Well, it all comes down to, again, guys, follow the money.
Follow the money. So
Somebody in Alabama was like, oh, man, think about how much money we could make if we let New York put their poo here.
Yeah,
and then all the people in Alabama were like, damn it, Angelino.
Right. It was Angelino.
Why did you do that?
It was Angelino. For sure it was Angelino. But they did solve it. They got rid of the train, and I'm sure that there's some other, the happy end of the story is the poop train is no longer in Parish, Alabama. It's gone. And it even says in the article, it says the smell of barbecue has returned once again.
You know what? That's great.
That's great.
That makes me want to have barbecue right now.
Yeah, I want to have some barbecue. But the poop train, I know that doesn't have anything to do with biofriendly. That's a biohazard right there.
Yeah.
But it
does have to do with trains.
It does have to do with trains.
Yeah.
And poop.
Which is definitely, I mean, pooping.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah. But anyway, the people of Parish, Alabama are okay. And the people in Angelino in the sewage disposal unit in New York is a real jerk face.
He's a jerk face. The
And
guy
he thought it would be so funny to send the poop train to Alabama.
Angelino, the enemy.
The enemy of
all biofriendly.
Of all biofriendly. He is, hey, if we ever did do that episode that was the biohazards, our alter egos, totally Angelino is one of them.
That's him. He's the boss.
Yeah, he's the boss. He's the boss.
that Angelino.
That Angelino. So that's basically it. We've covered a topic on trains. I learned a lot about magnetic levitation trains, which is cool. And we learned that if you can take a train, you should. And if you can go travel, skip domestic, go international. Get to Paris, man.
Get to Paris, man. Worth it. Take your dog.
Take your dog to Paris, man.
Take your service dog that's allowed to go on the plane.
Everybody, go to Paris. This has been the Biofriendly Podcast, your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Tantamount.
Way too soon.
No, it is tantamount.
Not yet. It is sound years ahead of the competition.
I could have said it next. I could have said it next.
You mean I was just supposed to keep going?
Yes.
Okay.
This is your fault. This is not my fault. You have to be prepared.
You got to improv
for any kind of
Okay. Sound years ahead of the competition.
Tangential, but worth it.
Saving the world eventually.
There's a poop train in Alabama. What's the other one?
So glorious.
So glorious. So handsome.
Yeah.
Really is.
Tantamount.
Tantamount.
And oh no, you already did tangential.
I said tantamount too early.
And tangential.
I'm supposed to say tantamount second because
we're
sound years out of the competition.
I've decided something right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in order.
It doesn't have to be in order.
No. Okay. I say we just throw out the phrases and it doesn't matter.
Hopefully I remember.
And hopefully we remember all of them.
Yeah.
And then we'll add more.
I'm still saying this one's on you, man.
I'll take the blame. I'll take the fall.
This one's
Put me on the poop train. Call Angelino and tell him I'm coming back to New York.
Coming back to New York.
Me and the 10 million pounds of sludge.
I think we're getting 10 million pounds of sludge.
No, not sludge. There is a song lyric. Sorry, last thing before we're out of here. Maybe I could cut it out. I don't know. There's a song lyric from the Pixies, and the song lyric is 10 million pounds of sludge from New York and New Jersey. They saw the future.
From New York and New Jersey?
Yeah. That's the song lyric from a Pixie song from the 90s.
Do you think
10 million pounds of sludge from New York and New Jersey? It says 10 million.
They're prophetic.
They are. The Pixies knew the future.
Oh my God.
Wow. Anyway.
What if we just start listening to Pixie songs and see how right they were?
That'd be unbelievable.
Are they like a Nostradamus here?
It could be. Unbelievable. Thanks for joining us, guys. See you next time. Hey, I remembered my Tumblr.
Congratulations. We did it. What a great podcast.
We did it. This is the last one.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.